Hello, and welcome to Antonia's Promise podcast. Do you believe in miracles? Well, then I have a story for you. Antonia's Promise podcast is a true story and testimony filled with miracles, healings, love, and hope. On February 10, 2019, I prayed for a miracle with my rosary wrapped tight around my hand and a picture of Jesus by my side. I prayed that if God granted me my miracle, then I promised that I would speak love and light as a vessel for Him. On February 11, 2019, the day of the sick feast of Lady of Lourdes, I received my miracle. I'd love to invite guest speakers on my podcast to share their stories of miracles, healings, and hope, and how God has created and granted miracles in their life. Join me and others as we bring love and light to listeners everywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast with Antonia's Promise. I have a very special person and friend on the show, and his name is Craig McGill. I met Craig in 2019 when I was asked to come on by Lisa Ask Elise and share my story. And I met Craig at his studio, and I had the honor of meeting him and being in studio for the very first time. And I was like this little girl, and I was upset because the chair wasn't right and my dress wasn't right. And he was just so warm and comforting. And he told me not to worry, you look great. And one of the things that I remember mostly about you was making me feel very comfortable. But after the show, you sounded really like impressed by what I had to say in my story. And you said, don't give up. Whatever it is that you're doing, just keep doing it.
Mm.
And I always remember that about you. And I remember meeting you and just feeling the sincerity because, here I am now starting my own podcast, and this is new too, right? And
That's incredible.
and I'm asking you to be on the show, and it's a new start. And you're one of the first people that came to my mind. But I do remember that day just feeling really like comfortable and safe, and you really understanding the message of what I was trying to say. So thank you, Craig, for being on the show. And please share with us. So tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll just kind of reiterate what you were saying earlier. Um, in my business, which is video and film production, and as you mentioned, I do have a studio, but for the past 35 plus years, I've learned uh, various personalities. And the common thread of all the personalities is that no matter what they want to be, they want to feel comfortable, they want to be liked, they want to be respected. And regardless of what your personality type is, and when you came to the studio that day, you had a lot of things on your mind. You were very conscious of things that you probably should not have been conscious of. So my first thing is when I'm dealing with clients or even just regular day to day, I want my presence of those that I'm around to, for them just to feel as comfortable as possible. Probably sometimes to a fault, Antonia, but that day, I just wanted to make sure because, listen, sitting in front of a camera, standing in front of a camera, even if it's not your first time, it's kind of intimidating. You're conscious of everything you do. You're
Mm-hmm.
very aware of how you look. You're very aware of the words that come out of your mouth. You're analyzing what you
Mm-hmm.
say. You're analyzing how you look in your mind to yourself, and you just, it's just a lot of stuff just going in your head. So I've learned over the years that the first thing to do is make my client and make anyone around me feel comfortable. So
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I did. And it wasn't an act. That's actually who I am all the time. So I appreciate you acknowledging that, but I was just being
Mm-hmm.
Craig.
Well, you did it effortlessly, and I needed that day because it was my very first time, and being a girl and just wanting to look right, you really made me feel very comfortable, and it was just a feeling that I didn't forget, for my very first time being on anything. So I thank you for that, and also having this connection with you with faith, and you sharing that the story that I relayed was resident to you, and it was a powerful message, and you said don't give up.
Right. I mean, we have a tendency to, you hit a rough patch in the road depending on what your fortitude is, you have a tendency just to slowly, take your foot off the gas. You could be 100 miles an hour out of the gate, and then you hit a patch in the road, and then you start to slow down. I used to have a license plate on my vehicle that said phase one, PHAZE, the number one, phase one. And I loved when people would ask, what does phase one mean? Because it allowed me to engage in the conversation, because phase one is in fact a mindset. And phase one is when you're at your best. If you're going to an interview, you're at phase one, you probably buy a new dress. If you're a guy, you may get a new suit, shirt, tie, what have you. Or if you're going on a date, the same thing. You make sure you get a haircut, you get your hair done, you get your makeup. For guys, you may even get a manicure, but you're at the top of your game, on that first date or that job interview, or when you're meeting, say you're a younger person, you're meeting your fiance's parents or whatever the case may be, you're at phase one. And phase one to me meant that throughout your entire walk, throughout your entire life, maintain, being in phase one, because the moment you slip into any other phase outside of that, two, phase three, phase four, then you are now selling yourself short. You're not operating at the highest possible level. Now, are we all perfect and can remain at phase one? No, but to have that in your mind that I'm gonna operate in phase one, and that will resonate with the people you interact with, the jobs that you have, the places you go, the people you meet. You never have to worry about being a different person to another person. You're always the same person.
So would you say that's your mindset, phase one? Is that something you reflect on and you think about? If you
Yeah,
are about to negate from, you go, oh, phase one.
yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I think it helps. I think you always should have a conversation with yourself, because it's so easy to slip, because life, you know, I, the young kids say life starts lifing,
Mm-hmm.
things get in
Mm-hmm.
the way, and you start to focus on the problem instead of the problem solver, which is God. And
Right.
it's just our tendency, is our nature, to kind of gravitate toward that. But it hits I like to say that it hits a situation may hit the flesh first, but then you have to quickly recall on this, call on the spirit to, kind of
Mm-hmm.
line you back up. So phase
Mm-hmm.
one is 100% a part of everything, from my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children. Sometimes it's not me that checks myself. Perhaps it's even my children or my wife would say something.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd go in my secret closet and say, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, they're absolutely right. I fell out of phase one. So that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a part of my focus, centering myself back to where I need to be.
I like that. I like that you have that as a mental strength for yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like you something to reflect back on and kind of go, oh, phase one. I like that. I'm gonna actually think of that.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but I know that you are a very strong man of faith
Hmm.
by meeting you, getting to know you. Um, tell me how did your relationship with God start and what did God do for you in your life?
Well, everything. God has done
Mm-hmm.
everything for me, but I didn't always know that. But um, faith, I was always attracted to the concept of faith, to believe that there's a higher being who is God, the Father of Jesus Christ. That there's a higher being, and that if I put all of my faith and my trust in Him, that there is nothing that I can't do. Um, so I remember when I was much younger. I was probably um, about 12 or so, and I had been in. I had known about God for my entire life. My mom would take my sister and I have an older
Mm-hmm.
sister, just my sister and myself. She made sure that we had a strong biblical foundation. She would take us to church. We would learn about God. We were in church quite often. Sundays we grew up Pentecostal, so I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
know anything
Mm-hmm.
about the Pentecostal
My
faith.
husband grew up Pentecostal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, for all intents and purposes, lived inside the church
Mm-hmm.
because we
Mm-hmm.
were there on Sunday, all day Sunday. We had multiple
Mm-hmm.
classes on Sunday, Wednesday Bible study, and then we had rehearsal on choir rehearsal on Friday, whatever the case may be. But nonetheless, my mom had us in there. And there was a certain superpower for me to know that I can just believe in God
Mm-hmm.
and that he would see me through situations. And I remember 12, like I was about to say, I was about 12 years old, and I had an experience that
Oh,
it was quite amazing. That was like one of the experiences I had as a very young kid. My cousins and I, we all were raised the same type of way.
right, right.
And we were in the room of one of my cousins, and we were having we were sub teams. We were having a praise and worship. Instead of playing cops and robbers, we were playing praise and worship.
Wow.
Um, I,
12.
I was 12 years old. Yeah.
Wow.
And there were cousins slightly older and cousins slightly younger, but we were in this
Mm-hmm.
one room just having praise and worship. That's how we were raised. And I remember I just felt this presence that just fell on me as a kid. And it was, if you
You
believe in this,
invited the spirit in.
yeah. And then I just remember speaking in another language, and some folks may recognize that as being speaking
Tongues.
in tongues. So
Wow.
no idea what I was saying, but I just felt enveloped by the love
Mm.
of
The
God.
Holy
And when I think
Spirit.
about it, when I think back on it, I think that I imagine God looking down at me, just beaming with pride and happiness,
Yes.
that as a young guy, that I'm sold
Mm.
out for him. Now, it has not always been that way. Um, you know, when I hit around 17 years old, um, I went off to college, and I kind of turned my back on the faith walk, and I started living. I wasn't living a hellacious life. I just started living apart from God. I separated myself, and I did the college thing down in Virginia, and living a very what some might call a carnal life. Wasn't doing anything bad. I wasn't doing. That was never my. That's not my makeup anyway. But I was just apart from God, and so I was 17, and I was 18, and I was 19, and I was everything all the way up to about 30, where I lived that kind of life, just separate, not depending on him, knowing that he was there, but kind of taking it for granted. So I was working. This is a great story, I think, and
Hmm.
and I hope you can visualize this, because
I am all of it.
I'm gonna try to tell it. I'm gonna try to use my words to paint this picture for you.
Okay.
But so I was a commercial producer, because, as I mentioned before, I work in television production. I was working as a commercial producer up in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, and I guess I might be down Lyndhurst from where you guys are, but nonetheless, I remember just sitting there. Everyone had gone home, and it was just me. I was working on a script for a commercial. It was just me in the entire building, just just me. And I like the way like right now I have lights on me, but the rest of the studio here there are no lights on. It's just on me right now. And
Hmm.
I like the coziness of it. So only thing that was lighting the office was the light coming through the windows, much like what I have over there.
Hmm.
And so I'm sitting down writing and writing, and I did not hear audible voice, but I felt a voice. Now, if you say, Craig, explain what you mean, I won't be able to, because I can't. All I know is I heard within me say, it's time to come home. Just like that. Just like that. It's time to come home. And I knew immediately. I just,
I have the chills,
well, it's
literally up and down my spine, down my back, on my legs. And you know what's funny? Before you said that, I wrote this down. Literally, I wrote it down. And you know what it says? You have never been apart from God. He was literally waiting. And you are a thinker. I know that about you, but
I didn't
please
hear.
continue. because I wrote that as you were saying. You were never apart. He was waiting,
Yeah. Well,
waiting.
so by that time I was engaged to be married.
Mm-hmm.
And so the voice, which was the Holy Spirit, um, I believe with all my heart, said, it's time to come home.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe God himself. All I know is I heard within it. And I always say God said, but I try to stray away from God said because people use that so loosely now that it doesn't carry the weight that it should. But nonetheless, I remember I was at my desk and I just pushed away from my desk and fell to my knees. And I was just over and over and over saying, I know, because I
Oh,
knew it all along. And I just kept
oh,
saying it. I was crawling on my hands and knees through out the office into the hallway. There was a bathroom across the hall. I remember it like it was 5 minutes ago. And I kept
mm-hmm,
saying,
mm-hmm.
I know.
Oh,
And that day I made my decision that, okay, it's been quite a while now. It's time for me to
mm-hmm,
come home. But my wife didn't know, well, my fiance at the time, she didn't know my Christian life.
mm-hmm,
All she
mm-hmm.
knew was Craig, just a good guy.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
we didn't do anything. We didn't church or read Bible, none of that.
Mm-hmm,
So I was driving home at the time. I lived in Edison, New Jersey, and I was driving home, and I said, how in the world am I going to tell her that I'm going to be sold out and living for God the way I was when I was a kid? And you- she, she didn't live that way. I didn't live that way. Again, we were good people,
mm-hmm.
but we just that's as far as it went. We didn't
Not how
practice
you lived your life on a
it
daily.
on a daily basis. So anyway, I went home, and I was like you said, I'm very thoughtful, pensive, and
Yeah.
so she saw it all over me, and she said, "What's going on?" I said, I'm about to tell you something that's probably going to make you afraid." And she said, "Why? What?" I said, "I had an encounter with God today, and He told me that it's time to come home, and I'm going to start living my life for Christ. And I'm waiting. I'm like waiting for it to come." And she's like, "Why would that scare me?" And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know. I just thought it might, but it did not. We we immediately, I kind of like got reacclimated with what I was doing and my reading and my studying and all of that
Thank
good
you.
stuff. And
Thank you, Jesus.
she was raised differently than we were in terms of what they believe spiritually. And ultimately, we started attending a church. We started learning
Mm-hmm.
together, and it was like now. And then we got married. We were really one at that point because we were worshiping and we were praising
Mm-hmm.
together. And we started having children, and they were growing up in the church and everything. And now you cut to 20. Well, actually, that was 30 plus years ago. Now my kids are sold out, and so are we. And
Oh,
I don't think we can take a breath or take a step without acknowledging that that step and that breath was
mm-hmm.
100% because of God. And
Wow.
another thing, I'll say this:
Wow.
whoever's listening, maybe have their, kind of like, to have their eyes kind of curled. Um, you know, it's not about being a holy roller. You know,
Mm-mm.
in
Mm-mm.
fact, when I share the gospel, when I talk to people about it, it's very much me just planting a seed.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
Mm-hmm.
much me not forcing the
Mm-hmm.
conversation. It's very much people just seeing it on me and may say something, and that is my opportunity to plant a seed. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll plant a seed. Perhaps sometimes I'll water the seed, but in every case, God will, give the.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not about being a holy roller. It's like letting the light in your life
Mm-hmm.
and so that others can see his good works and
Mm-hmm.
me
Through
and us.
you. Yep.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then that is how I have a friend who says, you are unlike any Christian that I've ever seen because you don't beat me over the head with your belief. You know, it's really, and perhaps that's not the best way. It could be the best way. All I know is I'm just following the unction of the Holy Spirit and how I conduct
We
myself, and
all we all serve God in different ways,
100%.
but
Yeah.
you said something before, and See, you were afraid to tell your wife. See, but God didn't make a mistake when he chose your wife for you. Didn't.
No,
He didn't.
no.
And thank you, Jesus, right? Like you have the support, you have the faith, you have the foundation, you have the love, you have the army. That's it. You're good. You're great. You will only get greater, bigger, more beautiful,
Oh,
and you're sharing your message the way you know to share it.
yeah,
I'm not a perfect person,
yeah,
but I know that I'm trying my best. I know that I try every day to say thank you to Jesus. And he's opening doors and we're sitting here today. I didn't know your story. I
yeah.
didn't know really anything about you besides showing up to a studio and falling in love with your spirit and
Right, right,
continuing that relationship with you.
right, right.
And, you're an Emmy Award winning producer, Mr. Craig. You're not, so you are fabulous, but with God, you can even be more fabulous. Like you said, like that light, allow that light to shine and be that better person. And, there's nothing you can't do
Right,
without him by your side. It can only
right,
get bigger and better.
right.
And you have that I see you like in my mind, you're very like intricate and you think about things and things, but you don't question him.
No,
You don't question him. You allow him to just work within you, right? And that's what we all do. And you're a vessel in your own way. And you sharing your story today is what Antonia's Promise is all about. It's giving people a platform like I started, and I had no clue this was going to happen. But when I was asked to do a podcast, I'm like, what am I going to do a podcast about? Right? Like, okay, so, all right, we'll do a true story of healings and miracles and how God has performed that miracle on me. And then I'll share but I want to have special guest speakers on to
mhm.
share their stories. So your story of praising God at 12 years old and never being apart from him, because I don't think you were ever separated from him. He was always there waiting. He's
Agree,
always waiting, but he
agree.
never forces the hand, right?
That's right.
On your time when you're ready. And he's always like, okay. And he was ready for you to come home, but you were ready to go home.
Oh, 100%.
And
I
I have the chills again, like amazing. But that's our God, right? He never
yeah.
forces us to do anything we don't want to do. It is our free will.
Hmm.
And that's beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you have that foundation at home with your family, your wife that you speak about all the time,
Yeah.
and your relationship with her. And it will only get, God first. I
Yeah.
say it in my marriage too.
Hmm.
God first. And I never understood it. I've heard it, but oh boy, do I get it.
I
You
want to
know,
I want to step back to something you just said, and I just want to kind of expound on that a little bit, and it's with my wife because I've had relationships, for quite a while up until I met my wife, quite a few, and I remember saying to God, you know what, God, I just want a woman. Just a woman, like I just a good woman. I just want, I was 24 or 25 at the time. And I was just felt like I just wanted a woman. I've always been accused of having an old soul. In fact, my aunt, who just passed two
I
weeks ago.
wonder why people think that.
Yeah,
No.
right. She would call me Uncle Craig, and
Mhm.
I was a nephew. She was the aunt. She called me Uncle Craig because she said I had an old soul. But nonetheless, I met her by accident on purpose. I say that often, and to the natural eye, it was by accident, but divinely, it was on purpose. And she is the absolute perfect person for me. And
Mhm.
I really can't
Mhm.
imagine who else would be able to be like that for me. You know what I mean? When I pray for her,
Mhm.
I was literally led to her 300 plus miles away because I met her
Mhm.
in Massachusetts, and that was back in 91, and so I just wanted to say that, it's having, you mentioned support, she supports me even sometimes when I may not be 100% accurate with my decision. She was like, okay,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
she'll go through
She
the rough.
trusts you.
She trusts me,
She
and
trusts you.
but those are far and few between. But sometimes I don't get it right, but she's still there. And
Hmm.
when I do get it right, we all benefit. So
Hmm.
I just wanted to just acknowledge her that she
Hmm.
imagine anyone being better for me than she is. God knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And I thank you for that. And it's, I love strong marriages and the support system, being an entrepreneur, being a mother, being a wife, being all these things, embarking on this journey with Antonia's Promise. And my husband has been my number one fan and supporter since day one. So, you know, um, I understand you and I think it's beautiful and I'm grateful for you to have that with her.
Thank you.
Craig, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. I always like to end the show with a question. Do you have for me?
That's very unique. It's very unique. Often when you come on the show, you kind of like you feel comfortable because you're going to get the
Mhm.
question served to you, but it's not often that you turn around and serve to the host. But I guess if there's a question I would ask you is how has life been for you by being totally aware of where your source comes from, which is God.
Um, Life has been a roller coaster ride since I started
Mhm.
my journey, but it is the most magnificent journey that I've ever been on. And my relationship with Christ, knowing that now this is really orchestrated by Him. Every person I meet, every single piece of this journey is orchestrated by Him, is phenomenal.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
he really is phenomenal. The joy that I get, the peace in my heart, the fortitude that you mentioned, which is strength.
Mhm.
Okay, the blessings that I receive, the miracles on a daily basis,
Really.
they
Yeah.
are all given from Him, and that I did not know.
Yeah.
That I truly did not know. Even when I started Antonia's Promise, I didn't know what I know today. And that's the beauty of the making of the mistakes or not knowing God or building that relationship. I know Christ. I have a personal relationship with Him, and I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I'm almost afraid to say that, but because
Mhm.
He's going to teach me,
Yeah.
right? He's going to teach me in every single way, but I know it comes from Him,
That's fantastic.
all of it.
I wanted to I wanted to share with you and your listeners also that um, there's absolutely nothing wrong with the roller coaster ride because if you're anything like me, if you've ever been to any amusement park, I'm thinking of Six Flags right now. If you get on the roller coaster, you're going up and down, you're spinning around, you're losing, you're
Hmm.
sometimes feeling like you're about to pass out. But guess what you do the moment you get
Hmm.
off? You want to get back on.
Yeah,
So life is a
yeah.
roller coaster, but you know what? You go through the ups and downs, the
Hmm.
spins, the twirls,
Hmm.
the flips, and everything. But you
The
know what?
best ride you'll ever be on.
100% because
Best
a
ride.
roller coaster in life is necessary.
Hmm. It is, and that's how we learn, right? That's how He's going to teach us.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but this is a blessing today for me having you on the show. I've looked forward to this for weeks, but I knew when I was asked to do um this show, right? I said, these are the people I want on, and you were one of those people. And I thank
I'm
you
honored. Thank you so
so
much.
very much for being here today.
Thank you.
And may God continue to bless you and your family and your relationship and all the things that you do. And I know that I can't wait to hear more. Where can we find you, Craig? Where can people, is your studio available? Where can we find you?
Yeah. Well, the studio that you were in,
Okay.
I'm not there anymore.
Okay.
I moved further south into the Philly area, but you can just find me on Instagram, Five Peaks Media, FIVEPEAKSMEDIA, Five Peaks Media. If you want to drop a note there, that's fine. The website is under construction now. Since we moved, I'm having everything redone. So
Hmm.
right now, the best way is through Instagram. Yeah.
Okay. And then can people rent out your space, come to your
Yeah.
space?
Yeah. We're right here in North Philly. We're in a very secure place. The entire building is surrounded by iron gate. You have to have a code to get in.
Oh,
You have
wow.
a code to get in the building. You have to be let in. You can't just walk up.
Hmm.
It's quite different for what I'm accustomed to. It's very, city. And I love it here. I love it here.
Mm.
And if you go to Instagram, you'll see some pictures. I didn't put many, but some
Hmm.
pictures. I've moved in here July 1st. So we've had 4 productions in here already. But yeah, it's 2722 Hancock Street, North Hancock Street, Philly. So yeah, we just, reach out to me. We'll make it happen.
Okay. And what are the services that you have at the studio, Craig? What
Oh
can
wow,
people?
if you're a photographer, please come. I wish I can show you right now, but if you're a photographer, there's plenty of eye candy here. If you are a filmmaker, you do interviews, you want to do scenes from film or what have you. If you're a content creator, most certainly come here and get your content in. We have a nice courtyard out between the buildings here, still within the parameters of the gate.
Mhm.
Come here, get your content. So
You do
anyone.
podcasting as well?
I do podcasting. Yeah, I do.
Oh,
Sitting on
wow.
one of the sets right now. This is one
Oh,
of the sets. Yeah,
see, that was a guess.
yeah.
All right.
So we have multiple sets here. We do podcasting, video podcasting, and pretty much the gamut with anything creative we do here. I will be doing some video mentorship academy training here soon. So,
Wow.
this is the place to be. I came here. I'll say this, and I'll let you go. I came here when there was nothing but 4 walls, a floor, and a ceiling, and there's a vaulted ceiling too. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. I'm
Um,
gonna have to come check it out. Wow. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna have to come visit you.
you certainly do. But I
Yeah.
sat here on one stool. I bought a stool for a singular purpose, and that was to sit here and pray over this spot.
Oh,
So I sat here and I prayed over it, and I prayed that whoever walks through this door, much like I did when you came through the first studio, that you feel the love and the presence of God
yes.
coming there.
And I can't wait to come back and feel that presence. I really can't because I know wherever you are, the Holy Spirit is.
You're
All right.
welcome. You're more than welcome to come here. That's for
All
sure.
right, Craig. Well, thank you for being on the show today. It
Pleasure.
was an honor and a blessing today. And I'm gonna come see you.
You better.
I am. I'm gonna come. Do you still have my crosses?
I do. I look.
Uh
In fact, I was like, oh wow, it was because I at my desk in my office I have like my things. You can't see what I'm doing, but my drawer right here is where all my
uh-huh.
stuff is, and that's where your cross is.
I'm glad. When I walked into Craig's studio, I had brought a cross for him and his wife, and I was wondering if you remember
Oh, absolutely.
the crosses and me giving them to
100%.
you.
I still have it. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Craig, for being on the show today. I pray that your words resonate with people, as do mine, and we touch the hearts of people through miracles and blessings that we receive ourselves through God.
100%.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, you take care, be blessed, and have a great day.
Do the same.
All
Ciao.
right, ciao, ciao, bye. So, everyone, that was Craig McGill, Emmy Award winner and producer and director. And you just heard that he had God speak to him and say, it's time to come home. And, you know, Jesus is just so amazing, right? And he never forces our hand in anything that we want. We do, right? Everything is at our own free will. And Craig had a beautiful story. He has an amazing support team at home, a beautiful wife that loves and supports him, children. And he's a very successful, faith-filled man. And I know that his blessings will only get bigger and better. I thank him for being on the show today. He was one of the people that really resonated with me when I met him, and he never left my heart. So I hope that his words speak to you, his story speaks to you. And I thank you all for listening to Antonia's Promise podcast today. Bye for now. Please visit antoniaspromise.com today For more information and to learn more about my true story of healing and miracles through faith and in Jesus Christ.